Well, thank you. Exciting times and a very important topic for all of you today with our resumes. So hopefully everyone's brought their resumes along and is ready to get started to update, improve, and really take your but what I want you to take away from this particular slide is the importance of your digital footprint as well. So not just the very short time frame that you have to work with, that 5 to 7 second window, but also your digital footprint. What I encourage you to do is to go and see what information is available in that whole digital world before they do it. Okay, you go and search yourself. Go and see what photos are out there. Go and see what comments are out there. Go and check your settings. Make sure your personal life stays personal, your professional life stays professional. Be careful of what's out there and conduct yourself in a very professional manner with all of those groups, those associations, and everything else in between. And be very mindful of your spelling, your grammar, and all of the other bits and pieces on this slide as well. Try to make that very good first impression and maintain a very positive and professional image throughout. So the goal and purpose of our resume is essentially to be able to support a response to some sort of expression for a role that has been advertised somewhere, or it could be that you have stumbled upon an opportunity through some strategic networking. So someone's told you about a possible opportunity. So you're letting people know that, hey, I have the qualifications, I have experiences, I have skills, I'm interested. So you're trying to highlight your career trajectory. You're trying to showcase what you've done over the years so far, what you could potentially offer and what you could potentially bring to the table. So your resume essentially is going to highlight your qualifications. It's going to showcase your skill sets, your hard and technical skills, as well as your soft skills. And it's also going to capture all of your experiences too. So it's a way for you to get noticed, a way for you to impress people. And ultimately, the ultimate goal, if your resume does its job with the cover letter, which is really important, and we'll have another workshop on that one as well. If they both do their job together really well, then you will land an interview. You'll get called in for an interview, and we will have a workshop around mock interviews and prepare for all of them as well. Now, different tips and suggestions for you here. So you can add some logos and things, on some of your resumes. You can also do that in the LinkedIn space too. So just keep an eye out on these as we send the slides and the recordings to you later on also. Now, as we move to this next one, we're going to share with you a Word document, which I've put together for you as well, which has all of these headings and sections in a Microsoft Word document for you to be able to input your resume, your actual skills, your experiences, your jobs, and everything into it. So please click on the link. Jenna's going to be sharing that in the chat for me in just a moment. So please click on that link so that you can download and access it, because we're going to do an activity on the career objective soon as well. So everyone will need to download that one in just a moment. But before we do that, what I've got for you on this infographic on screen at the moment is all of the suggested headings and sections that ideally we want to work towards including in an impressive graduate resume. So you might not have all of the information to put in every section right this minute, but this is something that we want to work towards so that we can stand out from the competition and land those interviews. So the very first thing that will appear at the top of the document will be your name and contact details. So your full name will go first. And I know that there are lots of students who don't always go by their full name and sometimes have a preferred name. So you would still put your formal name, your actual name that's on your birth certificate, on your passport first. And then in brackets, you can put whatever preferred name you have. Okay, so that's fine. And that's the formal way to go about it. Other things that would go with your name and contact details here would include your mobile number. So you would include that there. If you do use the landline, you can include that too. You need to include your email address. Please do not include your student email address. You need to preferably include an email address that has your full name in it, at some sort of domain.com. So it might be at gmail.com, at hotmail.com, at yahoo.com, whatever it is. If you don't yet have one, please create one for the purpose of recruitment, for job seeking, and so on. And also, please do not use something that has a nickname or something that was really funny at high school or anything like that. You know, we don't want Hello Kitty at whatever.com. We want something professional, because this is going to be for your professional job seeking, and it needs to be a professional reflection of you. So that's really, really important. So if you don't yet have one, please create one from today. The other thing that you can include in the name and contact details section is your address. I know sometimes some students are a bit reluctant to have all of their contact details on one document and then send it out, you know, to everyone. So if you are a little bit concerned, then you might just put your suburb instead of your entire address. But usually it's good practice to include the whole address, or at the very least the suburb. And the reason why is because sometimes they want to recruit people from a particular area or from a particular region, because they're looking for people who understand the area, who understand the cohort, who understand, you know, that particular region and the people who live there and reside there, or people who won't necessarily have to commute and travel for a very long period of time. So sometimes there's added advantages of disclosing that particular type of information. So please consider that when you are including your address as well. The other thing that you can include also is your URL to your LinkedIn profile. If you have a LinkedIn profile, please put that in the section. If you do not have a LinkedIn profile yet, when you do have one, include that there too, because what that can then do is include other information that you can't include in your resume. What we say to people is you want to aim for 2 to 3 pages for a graduate resume. And you're limited, right? You're limited for space. Whereas on your LinkedIn profile, you're not limited, you're not restricted. You have heaps of space. You can actually embed samples. You can embed links to your blogs, to your vlogs, to things that you've done. You can put endorsements. You can put recommendations. So it's not just about you claiming to have all of these skill sets. All these other people can vouch for you and build all of this employer credibility for you as well. So all of that can work to your advantage. Other things that you can do in the LinkedIn space is you can actually do LinkedIn learning activities, and then you can get badges and certificates, and all of that can be showcased in that platform. And you can make mention of it in your resume, but you have so much extra space to showcase all of that learning and that growth mindset and how you're a lifelong learner on that platform, but you're restricted in your resume. So there's all these extra things that it can do for you. So you want it to work in conjunction with your resume. So please make sure that you include that URL in your contact details so that you encourage the recruiter and everybody else to go there and see that portfolio, see those endorsements, see those amazing things that other people have to say about you, and all of the extra amazing things that you've been doing to invest in yourself and your career goals. Then the next section is either we have a career objective or a professional summary. Now, most of you will be writing a career objective, and we're going to have an activity on that. So we'll come back to that one very soon. The professional summary is more so for people who have already years of experience in a particular field. So they would write about those years of experience, but either the career objective or the professional summary are essentially just one strong paragraph. And it's the only paragraph or the only chunk of text that anyone is going to see in your whole resume. Everywhere else, it's just going to be point form. It's just going to be power phrases, straight to the point. Okay, and we're going to go through that later on as well. The next section, education, as well as employment history, work experience, and the volunteer section. All of these sections are written in what we call reverse chronological order. Okay, so not chronological order, reverse chronological order. And what this means is that your current education has to go first, your current qualification. So if you are currently enrolled in a bachelor's degree, that goes first. If you did a diploma before that, that would go second, okay? and then so on and so forth. If someone was doing a PhD, that would go first, then the bachelor, the master's, then the bachelor's, and so on and so forth. So it's a backwards order. Same sort of thing with your jobs. Okay, your current job goes first, followed by the job you held before that, then the job before that, and so on and so forth. So reverse chronological order is how we write our resumes. This must be followed. Okay, we do not start with our first job, then our second job, then our third job. That's not what we do in our resumes. With our education, we have to write the exact name of the degree, not the casual way that we say it, not the informal way that we say it, the exact name of the degree or the qualification that we are enrolled in, the exact name of the institution that we are in or getting the qualification from, and we write exactly when we started it. So did you start the course in 2021? And then you put a dash. And then if you haven't finished yet, you haven't graduated yet, you don't put an end date. You just write dash current, because you're still a current student. When you graduate, when you have obtained the qualification, then you put the end date, because now you have graduated, you have got the qualification. But if you are a current student, you don't put the end date. Then with the employment history section, here in Australia, what we encourage people to do, the general consensus is that for that section, we break it up and we only put our paid employment in this section. Okay, so if you decide to come out here, we encourage you to only put your paid jobs under employment history. We tell you to break it up. And if you've held lots of jobs, we say to you, put all of your paid jobs, your degree-related jobs under employment history, and then have another heading, a subheading, under other employment. And that's where you can put your retail jobs and your hospitality jobs. So your jobs at McDonald's or KFC and things like that can go under there as well. Your tutoring jobs, anything else that you've done on the side can go under other employment. We don't leave those jobs off, because that's where you get transferable skills, your soft skills, and they are just as important as your degree-related skills and the hard and technical skills. Some parts of the world, America, other regions, they just put everything under work experience, paid and unpaid. So again, it's important that you are aware of local expectations and you adhere to those local expectations when you are updating your resume and applying for jobs in that environment. Okay, so I am telling you about the Australian requirements here for Western Sydney and for Sydney more broadly, but you also keep in mind that there's different expectations, there's different requirements in different parts of the world and different places. And then with regards to the work experience part, this is where we encourage you to put things around your virtual internships, so all of the learning and things that you do online in an unpaid capacity, your practicums and placements and things that you do through university that you didn't get paid for, LinkedIn learning, all of those other different parts of your learning, your application, the applying of your learning that you didn't get an income for. Then the volunteer community work, that's where anything associated with, religious groups can go into play, fundraisers, community type events, all of that can go there to again showcase and demonstrate any of the soft skills that you have acquired. Then in the next section is where you put your additional skills, your additional qualifications. So this could be something else that you've acquired, so additional certificates and things that are not necessarily linked to the degree that you're pursuing right now. Maybe you have a certificate with photography or a food handling skills or certificate. Maybe you have a working with children's check. Maybe you have a first aid certificate or a license to drive or a license to drive a forklift or a license to serve alcohol. All of these extra things go here in this section. Anything that has an expiration date, an expiry, you put the expiration date in brackets so that the employer, the recruiter can see straight away that your license, the actual qualification is current, it's valid, and it hasn't expired. You're on the ball and it's actually valid at the moment. So that's really important as well. Then in the professional association section, that's where you would communicate to the person reviewing and receiving your resume that you are part of an association, a professional body that aligns with your area of interest. So it might be, an accounting group, it might be engineering groups, it might be business groups, or business analyst groups, specific groups that you have joined. A lot of these professional associations might have a fee. Some of them are free. The ones that are free, obviously you join, you don't have to think about it. The ones that have a fee, you do your research, you look at the member benefits, you look at the actual website, you see what are you actually going to get in return for your money as a student, and then you make an informed decision. You do all of the research and then you see which ones you want to join, because you'll get different advantages and perks. They will invite you to different events, face-to-face and online. You get access to research, magazines, articles, all of those different things to help keep you in the loop, let you know what's happening, impacts of COVID. They will alert you to jobs as well as internships and opportunities that non-members don't get to know about. You get to find coaches, mentors, different people to guide and support you. You'll have access to templates and resources and all of those other important things as well. So there's heaps and heaps of different opportunities and benefits, and you want to capitalize on that. You also want to go to LinkedIn and all of those places and join those professional associations, take part of the conversations and discussions, because what happens is there's recruiters monitoring and taking part and observing, and they're looking for people like you. They're actually observing and looking at all of those people that are in those conversations and attending the different events, and they're looking for opportunity to come and poach you, so that you can come and work for the different companies that they're recruiting for. And that's what the LinkedIn landscape has done. It's created new gateways for them to bring people into jobs rather than them just waiting for you to apply for positions. So professional associations are really important, and it showcases that you are taking initiative. You are out there proactively engaging with the professional bodies that exist and that align with your areas of specialization. So please try to familiarize yourself with some of those that align with your goals and aim to join a couple of them in the near future as well. Then there's the skills, awards, and achievements. And this is where you want to demonstrate other things that you've done. So you might have achieved, a Dean's Merit Award list, some achievements and things at university, or it might be outside of university. You might have achieved some awards at work, or it might be within the community, within religious groups, within other groups, within sport. Maybe you're an amazing athlete in the making. Maybe you're a musician or an artist, in the making. So all of these different things, you want to be proud of them. You want to showcase these different things because it tells people about you and your personality as well. Then there's the interests and hobbies. You also want to include this section because this also shows them about your holistic self. Who is Iman outside of work and study? What does she enjoy doing? Okay, this helps them understand a little bit more about me. And what it also will do is it will actually allow them to have an opportunity for us to act as an icebreaker, come and interview. If they decide to call me in for an interview, they could see, for example, that, I might love photography, or I might be tech savvy, or I might, be crazy about my sports, and they may also love their sport as well. So this can be an icebreaker, and we can talk about this in the interview, and that can calm our nerves, right? So you go from being really stressed to really relaxed before that interview because you've found common ground, you've found common interest. So that can happen as well. And sometimes that interest or hobby could be another reason why you are considered ahead of the competition, because they can see additional skill sets that you can bring to the table. So be they the photography skills, the technological skills, the other skill sets that you have that other people don't have, that you could be proud of and that you could share with the team as well. And then the referees, as we said earlier, we want to aim for 2 to 3 referees. And with the 2 to 3 referees, we also want to make sure that we have those conversations, we get their permission, and that we include their details in the required format. And before I go to that as well, please try to make sure that you follow the suggested formats. Proofread your document. This is why lots of people do not get called in for interviews all around the world, because people find spelling mistakes, they find grammatical mistakes, and this tells the recruiter that you don't care about what you are presenting, right? You don't pay attention to detail, and that makes them not want you on their team. Even if you have all of these qualifications, all of these skills and experiences, it sets off all of these red flags, and then they decide to brush you off and put you in that dreaded pile and bring someone else in instead. So please don't be sloppy. Make sure that you go over it, you review it, you have friends, family, industry professionals, other people look at your documents so that you don't let those errors be the reason why you are missing those important opportunities. We'll come to the career objective in a moment, and then we're going to do some activities around the power phrases as well. And then, as I said to you, I ultimately want you to try to fill in as many of those headings and include as many of those sections as possible to increase your chances of landing those interviews also. And I'll show you some additional resources and ways that you can find out what else should I be including in my resume? What else are employers looking for? There's some additional great resources that I have lined up for you at the end of the presentation. If you are going to come out to Australia, please make sure that you do simple things like check your settings on Microsoft Word. Make sure that the spelling is set to Australian English. That will help you immediately as well. And with regards to the grammar, always make sure that you write in the correct grammar tense. This is where lots of international students, as well as even the domestic students, get it wrong. As a rule of thumb, anything that you are currently doing, so if it's a current job, you need to write in present tense. Okay, so you would write that you are coordinating, supervising, designing, okay, illustrating, all of those sorts of words. That's what you will do when we get to the power phrase section. The minute that you have stopped doing that job or finished that internship, finished that experience or work experience, you have to go straight back into your resume and you have to fix the tense. Okay, so put an end date, fix the tense and make it past tense. Supervised, designed, developed, created, illustrated, all of those different things have to reflect the right tense, because this is where lots of people make mistakes and then the accuracy goes out the window. So that's what it looks like in the Word document. You're just putting in your key information and letting us know how far into your course you are, specialization, relevant skills, your strengths, experiences, one strong paragraph, trying to impress the reader. It's very important that you indicate what it is that you're applying for. Also, a lot of the big companies, big firms, they usually recruit for more than one position at the same time. So they might have internships, as well as cadetship, as well as graduate programs, all advertised at the same time. So they want to be able to determine what is it that you're actually applying for, entry-level jobs or whatever. So you need to specifically say what it is you're interested in or applying for also. So remember, this is a nice snapshot of you, your qualifications, skills, and aspirations. This is how we start to impress. And whilst you're working on that, you'll see in the document here, in each of the other respective headings, we don't have text anywhere. That's the only section in the whole document that we're only going to see a chunk of text, one paragraph. It's not going to be 2, 3 paragraphs. It's not an essay, okay? Just one paragraph is going to be there under the heading of career objective. Everywhere else is going to have all those other headings, but it's all going to be bullet points with power phrases, and that's it. That's going to be our 2 to 3 page resume. We're going to have a go at writing a couple of power phrases once we have finished this career objective as well. And with regards to the sections and headings, I have included 2 other headings that you can include here, which are the computing skills or digital literacy and languages. So with these, you could, for example, include your competency or proficiency with Microsoft Office. Lots of people are very competent with that, and lots of other apps and software. So you could highlight all of those skills in that section. And most of you in attendance today would fall into this category. You would speak a language other than English. So you could talk about how you're bilingual. You could, again, with just point form, bullet points, talk about your proficiency. So do you speak and write and read the language? Indicate that, because that can also help give you an added advantage, for particular roles that you are applying for also. Good. Great, Hoi. So what you want to also do later on is, if you have any relevant experience, you want to start including that experience in there as well. Okay, so as you acquire relevant experience, embed it into the actual description. Yeah. And when you're also applying for a specific position, because at the moment we're not applying for a particular role, when you're looking at a particular position description, you will then look at what skills have they mentioned. Do I actually have those skill sets? I'm going to also take some of them out, extract some of them, and embed them in there. But that's a great starting point. Well done. You're very welcome. Okay, Juan, so just make sure that you actually start with the actual name of the degree first. But it's good how you've mentioned the specific specializations and areas of interest. And then, as I said, when you start looking at the position description, you can start to embed a little bit more detail there as well. Well done. Alrighty, keep them coming. As I'm waiting for people to do that, let's move on to the power phrases. So with the power phrases, that's what's essentially going to jump off the page with the rest of your resume and improve it as well. So what we want to do is to showcase not just the skill sets that we've acquired at each of the different jobs that we've held so far, but we also want to be able to demonstrate the impact that we've had at all of these different jobs, including the job at McDonald's or wherever else. Okay, so don't dismiss any job that you've had. All of it is different types of experience. Even if it wasn't a paid job, it's still experience. This is a big mistake that lots of people make. They come here and they speak to me and they say to me, Iman, I don't have any experience. And then I speak to them and I find out that they actually worked here and here and here, and they volunteered here and here and here, and they did all of these amazing things. But they think that they have no experience because it's not degree related. Okay, all of it is experience, and you have to know how to capture it and talk about it in your resume so that you can determine or demonstrate your potential, your cultural fit, as well as your impact. So what I've got for you here is a nice list of action words. Okay, and I want you all to use this and refer to this as each and every one of you is going to build and write and develop a really impressive resume after the session today, because you're not just going to perfect it now, it needs time, but you're all going to refer back to this for each of your respective jobs. You're going to take words off this screen and you're going to for. So these really are very, very important to master. The career objective, the power phrases are 2 crucial components of your resume. That's how you are going to impress. That's how you are going to increase your chances of hopefully landing those important interviews, obviously in conjunction with the cover letter, which we also have to try to get right so that we can increase our chances in that online application process. So please, please, please take on board all of the recommendations and suggestions and the resources. Utilize everything that I'm providing and giving to you today. It is there for your benefit. And please have a look back over not just the recording, but the slides and everything that's available to you. And we will obviously have questions and everything for you soon as well. But just some helpful tips before we get to those questions too. Don't forget to use the reverse chronological order, proofread, proofread, proofread. It's so important. It's also really important that you don't just proofread it, have others review it. Sometimes you miss mistakes, you miss those grammatical errors, spelling errors, and go beyond that. As you network with professionals and people within your industry, ask them for feedback as well. Ask them what you could potentially add and do, because that's also really important. Also check for industry expectations, check the local expectations. If you do decide to, venture off or travel abroad or go somewhere else, make sure that you're meeting those local expectations also. Optimize with keywords, industry words, buzzwords. As I said, for graduates, generally try to aim for 2 to 3 pages. Be very specific, use dollar signs, percentages, all of those things where appropriate. Don't use statements and things like available upon request. Avoid that. Include 2 to 3 referees where possible. I have included my full name to the bottom of that Word document for you. Please make sure that you remember to edit that, to actually put your full name in there. So don't just leave it as my full name and then start submitting that to jobs. Make sure that you change that, and make sure that you don't remove the page numbers from the document either, because what often happens is there's page separation when you submit it for lots of those big organizations, and they need to be able to see if something like that does happen, whose page it belongs to, who the document is for. So please make sure that your full name is in the footer of every document, every page of that document. Very, very important. What I want you to do post this session, some takeaway activities for you, is to continue to build your resume, continue to improve it. Review it, please. And as I said, have it reviewed by others, including those industry professionals. So go back to that page of the action verbs and build on all of the jobs that you have had to date. Go to each of those respective sections. Make sure that you put power phrases for all of them. Today, we only started with one. You make sure that you do it for all of the sections, including those unpaid jobs and those work experience sections as well. Make sure that you work on your career objective and make it as impressive as you possibly can, and keep improving and adding to it. And as you acquire more and more experience, remember to keep revisiting your document. I often say to people that the worst resume that you'll ever have, myself included, is the one that we have now, because it is a working document. It's something that you're always going to make better. You will never have a perfect resume. My resume is not perfect. No one's resume is ever perfect. It's always going to get better as we add to it. I'm just going to jump out here before we come back to the questions. I'm going to pop this link into the chat so that you can all start popping in some feedback and testimonials for me, please. And whilst you are doing that, feedback from everyone, please, that would be great. And whilst you're doing that, I also want to share some key resources with you. So this here is a great resource. So lots of people know that Seek exists, but lots of people don't utilize the Seek career advice. So, for example, when you go to Seek, you can do a search on anything, and you might search, for example, business. And it's just loading. What's happening here? Nothing is happening. There it is. So I might just do something general like business, because I know lots of you are in that sort of space. And then it'll tell me there are 85 different options around business. And then depending on your area of interest, I know some of you might be in business analyst or might be wanting to do accounting or whatever it might be, you can choose an area. I'm just going to show you one as an example. And then it tells you all of this amazing information. Okay, so you can explore your profession. You can see how many jobs are available right now, how much you can potentially be earning if you decide to come to Australia, and the tasks and duties that you would be doing. So this is stuff that can go into your resume later on when you start doing those actual roles. These are some of the job descriptions that you can start looking at to look at examples of what you could actually take out from it around skills and experiences and things like that. And we'll look at that more when we do cover letter stuff. Sorry. But then the other thing that I want you to do, sorry, excuse me, is when you come down to this section here, it'll tell you how to get the qualifications. So go past that one. You can look at that one later on. But for the purpose of the resume component today, I want you to look up your specific area of specialization. So whether it's accounting, IT, whatever else, I want you to look at this section here specifically because it tells you additional skills that employers are looking for from you. Okay, you need to be aware of this because these are extra things that you can then start to include in your resume and on your LinkedIn profile to help yourself to stand out. Okay, so I want you to do some of this research and to start thinking about how you can include some of this to again give yourself the competitive edge. So that's one of the things that I wanted to include and share with you. And I'll pop that link, into the chat for everyone. And the other great resource that I want to also share with everyone is this one, just in case anyone does want to come out to Australia. But even if you don't decide to come out to Australia just now, it's just great information. You can search up anything and see what's happening in Australia and get some insight around your profession. So again, you could search anything here, whether it's engineering or you could do business, and it'll tell you how many people are working in this space, what can you potentially earn, what sort of skills, so that you can understand, even from a skills perspective. So if I did accounting here, something a little bit more relevant to this cohort. So I could look at accountants, and even if you didn't want to come to Australia right this minute or anything like that, I could scroll through, look at the information, see what's happening, but then I could go down for the purpose of fixing your resume. You could look at the skill set and then start looking at, okay, well, what are some important skills for accountants? These are some of the skills that I should then be including in my resume and in my different documents. So start familiarizing yourself with all of this information also. And then I did promise that I was going to also share this with you so that you can start looking at ways to upskill. And this is a fantastic tool. You can all start creating an account from today. You create a profile. It's free. And what you can do is you can start to gain experience from anywhere, right? All you need to do, as I said, is register, create an account, and then you can choose an area of interest. So for example, if you were looking at, let's look at accounting, you can search all the options around accounting. And then here, you can decide to do some upskilling and gain some work experience through these virtual internships. So all you need is access to the internet, and it tells you how much time you need to complete these courses, these virtual internships. So it might be 5 to 6 hours through KPMG, big companies. And then what happens is once you've completed it, you get a badge and a certificate. You can put it on your LinkedIn profile. You can also mention it under the heading of work experience on your resume. So you're filling in some of those gaps. Then you can go out with some friends afterwards to reward yourself for having completed it. And then the other advantage is that the recruiters and employers actually look through your application. And when they see that you actually took the time to do the tax course, virtual internship course at KPMG, that gives you the competitive edge, right? You are then considered as a preferred candidate above other people who didn't bother to do this. So it helps you in that recruitment process, in that competitive process. So it really helps you to stand out. So I want you to start looking at what are some of these options? What are some of these learning opportunities available to me right now? What can I start doing to invest in myself and my career goals so that I can get closer to where I want to be? Remember, because those dreams can come true, but we have to work not just hard, we have to work smart. We have to be strategic. And this is one way that we can start doing that and filling in some of the gaps. And the other way to start doing that from today is through LinkedIn Learning. You can do some hard and technical skills through those courses, as well as some of the soft skills too. And again, gain some badges and certificates through LinkedIn as well. So that's just a few things that I wanted to bring to your attention. And also volunteering. Please do not underestimate, the advantages of volunteering. I always encourage our students here in Australia to get out there and start volunteering and see what's available. So I'm going to share this link with you too. You know, lots of people think, I don't have time to volunteer. I'm going to be doing something for nothing. But it's such a fantastic way for you to get your foot in the door, for you to network with people, for you to meet professionals, for people to see you in action, and for you to also see whether you're actually going to enjoy something. Sometimes you think you're going to enjoy it, you think that's what you want to do, but it's not until you go out there and you get a taste of it that you realize that yes, it's what you want to do, or hang on, this is so not what I expected, this is not for me, I need to go back to the drawing board, I need to reassess. Right, so it does so much for you, and there's lots of different sites where you can start to find volunteering opportunities, and I want you to start putting yourself out there. I want you to source opportunities locally, wherever you may be, and start putting yourself in these contexts where you do little bits here and there. Don't try to do too much. Might be a couple of hours a fortnight, might be just, one day a week. It might be, over the summer break where you volunteer in some capacity. All of these little bits and pieces that you do are going to set you up for success in the future. So I just wanted to put that out there before we go over to the questions now. But please, here,